Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for coming. My name is Ron Fiamma. I'm with AIG, based in New York. I oversee our collector automobile insurance program based out of New York. We've been the sponsor of the Speakers Forum for the last 3 years. It's been a great experience for us, for me personally, meeting some great people. But I think putting on these educational forums has been a great association for us. We've had some great topics over the years. We've had some great topics this week. This is the last of our forums over the last 3 days, and they've all been great. I think we can say we've probably saved the best for last. All these guys are guys that you know. They need no introductions, but I will make the first introduction. All of you know Wayne Carini, and then Wayne will introduce all of his panelists. So please, a big round of applause for Wayne and his guests. Enjoy it.
I'm going to sit down here because this chair is taller. So it's great to have a bunch of friends and have friends in the audience and be with such great people that I'm going to introduce you to. You know, that's the great thing about the car hobby and about being on television is that we get to meet so many great people. But there's certain people that are pretty special to me in the world. One of them, though, he's standing over. He can't wait to get on stage. I mean, you know, right, he's going. Mike Brewer, Wheeler Dealers. Next we have Jay Ward. Jay Ward is technical advisor in charge of the technical department, I think it is, at Pixar Studios. So when you see the Cars movies and you see the tread on the tire is absolutely correct, and the valve stem is facing in the right direction, and the emblems, that's Jay's job, and Jay does a wonderful job.
Thank you.
I met Jay at a hot rod show years ago, and I was admiring his hot rod, and we became great friends because of that. Ray Evernham, I don't know what else to say. You're an idol of mine for years, and now you're a really great friend of mine. You know, we love all the things that you've done, you know, such a great crew chief and a race car driver, and now you're on television a lot doing, I think it's called Glory Roads, which is on NBCSN, so everybody tune into that. He's not on Velocity, but that's okay. We still love him for it. So, and then of course his years with Jeff Gordon, an unbelievable mechanic and driver. You know, I was in my office one day and I was on the phone and I looked out in my showroom and I go, oh my God, that's Ray Evernham. What's he doing here? And we've been great buddies ever since. His beautiful wife Erin actually is a fan of my show, and he said, yeah, okay, I'll go along with you so we can meet Wayne. So we've been great friends ever since. And then this is the guy that actually started automotive television. So, you know, he was a visionary along with a group that brought us the great network of Speed Vision. And then when Speed Vision got bought out by Fox, Bob went off with Discovery, and he created what we see today as Velocity. And without Bob, we wouldn't have our TV full of automotive content. So we're really grateful that Bob has done such a great job in bringing us all together. So Bob Scanlon. There's one more chair here, and I sort of wanted to surprise someone and bring him up. She's my producer, Hannah. And without Hannah, I would look pretty bad. Hannah controls everything that happens in our office, and we love her. Hannah and I have been through a lot in the last year, and I'd like to dedicate this seminar to our founder, Jim Ostrowski. Jim had developed cancer a little over a year ago, and he passed away. And Jim changed my life, you know, by being able to be on television and make such great friends as the guys up here and all of you. And it was amazing, the journey I've been on because of Jim. So we'd like to dedicate it to Jim, and we'd love to have Hannah come up too. It's amazing, you know, the opportunities we're given in life, and I was given an opportunity to be on television. I remember Shauna was our in charge of programming for Discovery, and she gave us the opportunity to have a TV show, and she took me aside that day that she gave us the opportunity, and she said, your life's about to change. So hang on, it's going to be an awesome ride. 12 years later, here we are doing this. So I thank you all for attending today.
Nice one, Wayne.
So now's my time. I can get you all.
Yeah.
You know, we've all watched Wheeler Dealers over the years. It's a show that certainly draws our attention. We still can't figure out how they make money. You know, they fix a car and they sell it and they make a profit of about $3.50, and everybody's thrilled. You know, in my world that doesn't work. But it's very entertaining, very educational, and you've done such a great job in entertaining all of us over the years. And then besides that, he's a real card to be around. I mean, it's amazing the jokes that he pulls on us all. So, well, I'm building a new house, and we have the Brewer wing in the house, and Mike's asking my wife all the time for drapery samples and carpet samples and things like that. So tell us, how did Wheeler Dealers start?
Well, thank you, Wayne. Nice to meet you all. Thank you very much. Yeah, it's 21 years, not of Wheeler Dealers, but I started automotive television 21 years ago. It was a little show that I did in England. It was called Deals on Wheels. 1997, I would look at people buying and selling cars in the first series, and it was such a huge hit. It was the biggest hit on that network almost instantly. So they asked me to do another series immediately, and as they asked me to do another series at the same time, another well-known program called Top Gear came knocking on my door, and they said, "You're pretty good. We want to put you on Top Gear." And I thought, well, I know nothing about this world of television. They've stuck me in, so I'll just go back to the people that employed me and introduce them to the people of Top Gear and do what a car dealer does and watch them play table tennis with my value, which I did. And fortunately, Channel 4 won the bidding, and I stayed on Channel 4 on a 5-year contract. And I made a series called Deals on Wheels, at the same time another series called Driven, which ultimately kicked Top Gear off the TV. It was a magazine-based format where, believe it or not, we filmed on the track in a studio with a live studio audience. Does it sound familiar? And we created that genre of television. And that went on for 4 years. I had a great run making that for 4 years. And then during that time, I was constantly asked by other networks if I would do little shows for other networks, and I did a few other little programs for other networks until this little known network, and it's only 25 years of age, so this is now 20 years ago almost, this little network called Discovery Channel came to me and said, "We'd love to work on a car format with you. We'd love to do a car show." And one of the things that I've done on Deals on Wheels was, in the later series, I was showing the audience how to buy a car, how to fix it up, and how to sell it. And it was basically me, you know, changing light bulbs, wiper blades, and kicking the tyres. That was that show. So when they came along with this show and they asked me to come up with a concept with them, we wrote a series called Grand Autos. The concept being, I would buy a car for $1,000, we would fix it up, and we would sell it for $1,000. Hence the reason we make no money.
I'm glad we got that
And we did get that straight. And that series developed, and when we started to actually work it out, because nobody in the world had ever made a car restoration show. This is the world's first ever car restoration show. So when we started to write it down, and I started to block out how the show would work with the producers, we realized that we were making something that had never been tried before. And I can't explain the difficulty, and our boss here to the right, Bob, would know the stresses and strains that we have to go through making these shows. The difficulty in producing a full restoration in sometimes 12 days is the pressure that's put on you to make a car TV show. That'd be...
Excuse me. Now, we have sort of a strange situation here. Hang on one second. I would never do this, but hello. I have a car at an auction right now, and I have to say yes or no to lifting the reserve. You ever see Meekum? Excuse me, Bob.
No, that's all right.
The car's on the block.
We were there once.
He's sitting right there. You can't say me coming
We're
from
up
Bob
next.
Scanlon.
Listen, you guys who are shooting, I'm going to
Okay,
need this footage
hang
later.
on. I'm going to put you on speakerphone.
This is going to be entertaining.
225, yes.
Does it reflect float all the way through
Oh, sure, we're going to be flexible. We've got a room of about 300 people here. We're all going
reckon
to figure this out together.
I reckon we should vote whether to take the reserve off, thumbs up or thumbs down.
Semi-flexible. You didn't think you were going to an auction today, did you?
Yeah, if we get to 200, is that going to do anything, you think?
A what?
If we get to 200, is that going to do anything?
Sure. That'll float my boat.
All right, let's see.
What's the car, Wayne?
Oh, we have a GT500 KR. 68. We got about 300 in it. This is called Wheeler Dealers.
Good one. That'd be $300, by the way.
Yeah.
If you guys want to continue.
Oh yeah, I can do if you like. I'll continue, otherwise we'll be here for a while. So when we started to put that show together, we realised that we were writing the very first car restoration show, and I then was asked to do the show alongside a mechanic. So I found this guy called Ed China. He was a gangly 6'7" guy that was an engineer, not a car mechanic, he was an engineer. And we brought him into the show. He worked really well together. We brought him into the show and we grew what was a tiny little program on a very little known network that was belonged to Discovery Channel. I think it was called Home and Leisure back then, if I remember rightly.
Yeah.
It was called Home and Leisure, and we grew this tiny little show into the global phenomenon it is today. It's been a hell of a ride. Are we coming up? So to cut in when you want to talk. It's been a hell of a ride, but more recently.
I shouldn't have asked him this.
You shouldn't. More recently, most of you, hands up here who watches the show. Oh, that's almost all of you. Thank you. More recently,
you said take the reserve off?
Off. So more recently, the show's gone through a transformation. My mechanic Ed China decided it wasn't for him anymore, and he wanted to go in his own direction. And he left the show. But I'd formed a very close bond and relationship with my current mechanic. He's a guy called Ant Anstead. He's incredible. He's a real car guy. He has his own car company. He's a formidable mechanic. I've never known a guy who works so tenaciously as him. And Ant has stood alongside me, and he's determined, absolutely determined, to move Wheeler Dealers into a new era and into a new direction. And it's an honour and a privilege to work with him, and he's right there at the back of the room. So give him a big round of applause. And Ant is a real car guy, and over the last year, me and Ant have knocked the naysayers who said it would never work if we was to change it. And we've grown the audience globally, and so
we got 175. What do you think?
No,
we all say no.
So much so, and I hope this will be.
More.
I hope this will be met with a round of applause. So much so, my boss here to the right, Mr. Bob Scanlon, has ordered another 27 shows. So that's the story of Wheeler Dealers.
These guys think you just bought the car.
Yes. Oh, and the reason we make no money is because I get Ant's love for free. That's great. And the truth is, we're not about the money. This show's never been about the money. It's about educating a home mechanic to have a go themselves. And we always want to empower people to have a go themselves. And you would never charge yourself labour. You would never clock into your garage and clock out. And me and Ant, we don't care for the money. What we care for is the
190?
car. And we always say, it's our mantra, that the car is the star of the show. And this is good, isn't it? It's great.
Oh, you're going to only get 190.
Asked me the wrong question at the wrong time, didn't he?
190.
Can you net me 190?
You bidding on the car?
We have two in the room.
There's a bid.
We have two in the room.
What were you going to say?
185.
Yeah, I'll fill you in when we know whether he sold his car or not. It's good.
180. Shook his head, is all he can do.
All right, give it a try afterwards. No, we're going to pass.
No?
No.
That's NO. No.
Are you bidding?
Net 180. You want to do it?
No. Yes, okay.
No
Do
worries.
it. Do it. 180. Right?
Yeah!
180. Sell the car.
Somebody's buying the cocktails later.
Let's see what happens.
He said the word net.
Yeah, net.
Net did it.
Sold.
Hey!
180.
That means he's buying dinner.
Thank you.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
So
Now,
to
we
an-
lost a lot of money.
So to
guys are
answer your question,
Are you still talking?
I'm still talking. This lady asked me a question. To answer your question, madam, Wheeler Dealers is currently being made here exclusively in California. Thank God, because it's a beautiful part of the world to live in. It's a car-centric culture. It's the car capital of customization. And for me and Ant, it makes it really easy. Plus the fact we're not standing in a rainy field waiting for a break in the clouds that we can drive a car 100 yards. Here it's they put Hollywood here for a reason, because you can film 360 days of the year, and that's why we love it here.
The lights are going out.
Yes. And that was it.
Okay, good. Yay!
Hey.
Okay, next. Jay.
You going down the line?
I am going down the line.
All right.
I'm still trying to think of what I just did. So.
Was it worth it? Was it worth it?
Yeah, whatever. We're not bringing another car home.
All right.
It's on its way. Bank money's going to the bank. So, Pixar is not television, but we certainly all love the Cars movies and all that Pixar does.
Toy Story.
I've been very fortunate to be able to go into Pixar. Jay has given me a tour a couple of times, and it is an unbelievable place to work.
Pretty
These
special.
guys have cubicles where they work, and they can do anything they want within that square rectangular cubicle. So you see guys that have storage sheds, and that's their office. Some guys have got a spiral staircase, and they got a sleeping quarters
loft up
upstairs,
above,
loft,
yeah.
so they can stay overnight.
That's right.
Some people do their best work at 1 or 2 in the morning. So
Yeah.
and it's a very open and free campus.
Yeah,
It's kind of cool.
It's a very cool environment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So and
That's legal. That's legal
Is
now.
it legal?
It's
Oh,
legal.
yes, it's legal. No wonder.
No, not at work. Not at work.
Great idea.
Not at
I've
work.
got a great idea for a car.
Are you sure you want him for more episodes, Bob? It's not, pull the plug. Yeah, it's a very special environment. I've been at Pixar almost 20 years. So you started in 97. I started in 1998 at Pixar. It was when a little film called A Bug's Life came out. It was our second movie. And at the time, Pixar wasn't really a household name yet. I remember I called my mom and I said, hey, I got a job at Pixar. And she said, is that a software company or what do they do? And I said, no, they make animation. Disney was a household name, but Pixar wasn't. And I was very fortunate to be there in the time when I worked on Monsters, Inc. That was the first film I worked on. And that kind of put us on the map. And then after Monsters, Inc. was Finding Nemo. And then it was Incredibles. And then it was Cars. And we had people knocking on our door wanting to work there because we were Pixar for the first time. But I'm fortunate I was there before that happened. So I got to work directly with Steve Jobs and John Lasseter and all just this creative energy we had when there was about 300 people working in the whole studio. And I feel very blessed to have been there in that time. Those early days was pretty great.
how many people work there now?
1,200. 1,200 plus, yeah. And we're much larger. We're in Emeryville, which is like a suburb of Oakland in the Bay Area, but we started out in a little town called Point Richmond in rental space, and it looked like a college dorm. There was junk laying in the halls and people riding scooters around, and it was really a free, fun environment. But we sort of grew up a little bit as we became more successful. But yeah, it's been amazing.
It's an unbelievable thing. And to see the dedication that you put into your job by making sure that all these things look correct. I mean, myself being a car nut, you know, when I watch the Cars movies, I pick up on these little details, and it makes such a difference to me to be able to watch it and be able to enjoy it. And then, of course, my grandson now is starting to watch them with me, and it's just a wonderful thing.
Well, thank you. And what we try to do is we don't make kids movies. People always say, oh, I don't have any kids, so I don't watch your films. But we don't make children's films. We make films that work for adults and children that happen to be animated. And we think of animation as a medium, not as a children's medium, but as a way of telling a story. So we make animated films that work for all ages, and that's what we're really proud of. And we always have. And when we started on Cars, which was, let's see, I worked on Monsters, Inc. I was rapping on Monsters, Inc., and a guy showed me this flat file full of artwork, and he said, we're going to make a movie about these cars that are alive. And you're a car guy. He knew I drove a 49 Lincoln Cosmopolitan to work that was chopped every day, so he knew I was a car guy. And he said, you're a car guy, I think you'd like to work on this. I said, yeah, I'd really like to work on this. And it was a story about a little town and a race car that got lost in a little town. And in those days, the story was different. The story evolved, but it was about a car named Monty. And his teammate was a guy named Carl. So it was Monty and Carl, like Monte Carlo. And Carl wanted to be Monty. Monty was the cool car with the stickers, and Carl was the backup primer car. that wanted to be his spot. So when Mac pulled into a truck stop, Monty got off and Carl said, yep, he's on the truck, let's go. And they went off to the next town and left him behind. And that was the old version of Cars back in the early days. And I started on the movie. I was the first production person on that film in 2000 and was on it to the very end until 2005 or 6, and then I went on to Ratatouille. But I spent my time, and while I was on it, John Lasseter said, you actually know about cars. I said, yeah. And so we started talking. They were working on Doc Hudson. I said, you should have twin H power. He said, what's twin H power? And I said, well, all the Hudson NASCARs always had twin H power, the dual carb setup. And he goes, tell me more. And the great thing about John was, if you know more than him about something, he would always say, you tell me. I'm not going to, you're the expert about this, right? You know more about Stutz than I do. I know you do. And if I was thinking about buying a Stutz, I would call you first, right? Right? Yeah. If I was going to buy a car that I was going to lose money on, I'd call you first, yeah. So it just worked out
wait a
that way.
minute.
Buy them cheap, sell them cheaper.
Good.
I must have watched way too many Wheeler Dealers episodes, because that's what I just did. You can ask a question.
So when because I've watched all of the films.
Just make sure it's not a big one.
No, it's not a big question. But
only got an
the
hour.
attention to detail in the cars is phenomenal, and especially the Hudson. I mean, you make these cars come alive. But they seem to look, they're not only characters and they come alive, they seem to perform and feel right when you're watching them on the screen.
That's right.
How does that come about? Does somebody actually get in a model of a car and drive it and get to feel it before they draw it?
A little bit, and that's actually a very good question. So I worked specifically with the character team on cars. So when we were designing Sheriff, who's a 49 Mercury, we looked at a 49 Mercury and said, this car is kind of chubby, the suspension kind of rolls around, it's got a flathead engine, it's a little lazy. We sort of combined an old cop that's had one too many donuts with a 49 Mercury and came up with Sheriff.
Perfect.
Because it's a car and it's a character, right? It has to be both. Yeah. If you watch when McQueen and Mater are running from Frank the Combine in the field, Mater's drifting because the suspension's so sloppy that he's cruising, but McQueen's going because he's a race car. Yeah. So we literally dialed the suspension in on the cars to be stiff or loose depending on the car type. Gotcha. Luigi, if you actually pull that model up, he's got transverse leaf springs like a Fiat 500. We did all those things to make the car perform on the screen like they do in real life.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So you're talking about suspensions and stuff. So we're going to move on to our next guest, who knows that stuff inside out, backwards, upside down.
Who has been who was a voice for us in Cars 3, by the way, which he can tell you about that.
By the way, I'm available for voiceover work. Quite good. I could be the British, the chubby British guy that comes along. the plucky Brit, a little fat Austin Healey would work for me. That would be a nice character. Yeah,
we'll talk.
We'll talk. Great.
All right.
Okay, can we move on?
Yeah. I was enjoying that.
Well, so Ray, of course, has been on our television in many different capacities over the years. We all watch NASCAR, and because of Ray's brilliance and Jeff Gordon's driving talent, they became champions, and just over and over and over again. And all we see was Ray and Jeff and Ray and Jeff and Ray and Jeff. But it was really
like
wonderful.
an Earnhardt fan.
How many championships did you win?
We won 3. Jeff won 4, but we won 3 together.
Yeah, wow. That's just wonderful. You're a brilliant guy. So tell us about what's going on with the new show.
Well, the premise is still, with almost a 40-year race career, we'd come home with such great stories. You meet so many great people at events like this, but a lot of the NASCAR races and some of the towns that you go to, someone say, hey, come see my car collection, or did you hear about this? And you go and find a car and come back and tell my buddies and stuff about it. Like, you got to start carrying a camera with it. Those are, unbelievable stories. And we started that, and even though I'm not on Velocity now, I was on Velocity with a show called Americana. Did anyone ever see that show, Americana? Yeah. Great. Okay, tell Bob I want to see it again, because I'd like to keep making it again. So, Bob, we were on until Bob fired me, but no, Bob didn't fire me.
That's why I sat them together. Maybe they'll make up.
They, so I actually talked to Bob about that several years ago and said, look, I've got this idea, don't know anything about TV or how to make it or how to do it, and Bob had us do 4 seasons of Americana telling those stories, because it's, how the car has affected our life and our history is amazing. When you look back when it was the backdrop for photographs at parties and weddings and dates and all those things. And that's the spirit that we wanted to capture with Americana, and had such a blast going around the country, finding cars, rebuilding them, putting them back in place. And then that morphed over to a kind of a racing show we call Glory Road that is on NBCSN now, but it's telling those behind-the-scenes stories. Everybody knows, oh, okay, yeah, they won the Daytona 500 here, or we know about the road racing, but we get some of the younger guys, like Clint Boyer and Chase Elliott and people like that, and we get some of the older guys, Bobby Allison, Donnie Allison, Humpy Wheeler, one of the great promoters, Bill Elliott, to tell the stories on a juxtaposed type, and we have just a lot of fun, because it's just really important to me. I know that television needs to be a lot of things, right? It needs to be entertaining, but I always feel it has to have an educational point too. So we try and make our shows educational and entertaining, and the emotion from the show now comes from the guys that are older that will start to tell a story and disagree and still get really heated about, no, that's not the way it happened. We had Leonard Wood and a guy named Frank Edwards that tell the story. Leonard had a car number 21 that Donnie Allison was driving, and the flying number 11, Bobby Allison was going to drive, and this guy Frank Edwards was working on that. And when they pulled up, there was a tire in the rack that made the perfect tire stagger to help the car go around the corner that they needed for the 21 car. So Leonard Wood remembers the story that he went to Frank Edwards to get that tire, and Frank Edwards charged him, had to get 2 brand new tires and $100. Well, Frank Edwards says, no, I just gave them and traded them for a new tire. And they got arguing, and I thought to myself, well, I've got these 2 85-year-old men here that are about to get into a fist fight of a tire from the 1960s. So, it's just things like that, and even things that I don't know, that little bit of a peek behind the curtain, if you will. And when we come back from a show, our goal is to have you sit there and watch the show feeling like you're there and you're part of it. And enjoying it. So that's what we do now, and we'd be happy to do more Americana.
I understand. And look, to be fair to Ray, he's not exaggerating with the stuff that people would say, hey, you've got to see. Tell him about the car that you brought here. How's the story behind that?
Yeah, we've got, for tomorrow to be on the field, our Mario Andretti, the Bronner Hawk, his original car that he took his rookie test in at Indy, ran his first Indy 500, won his first IndyCar race, won the championship 2 years with his car, sat on the pole at Indy. People would just call, hey, I've got a guy calls from New Jersey. Right? Oh, hey, yeah, I got Mario Andretti's car in my garage.
Sure,
so does he know? I thought maybe he stole his
yeah.
street car or something, And he said, no, it's the Bronner Hawk. And sure enough, you fly up there, you check it out, and it really was the actual chassis of the Bronner Hawk. And I knew that there was a replica that had been built out of some of the parts, because Clint Bronner, who owned the car, never threw anything away. So long story short, we ended up buying that chassis, talking the man into selling the replica, and then going to see Clint Bronner's nephew Tommy and getting the rest of the parts. And I had the man who actually worked on building the car with Mario Andretti and Clint Bronner, Jim McGee, restore the car, and has one of the original motors in it from 1965. It's got a 4-cam Ford with the original USAC stamp where they ran it in USAC with the car number 12 on it. So we found over 85% of the original parts. The fuel tanks and side tanks on the car still have the decals, the stickers from the 1965 Indy 500 on them. So, and again, all because of the show. And amazing. Yeah. Amazing cars. I still get calls every day. People say, hey, come take a look at this. It's in my garage. But I don't say, yeah, right anymore.
Why don't you call me on that?
Yeah.
Why don't you call me on those?
I do sometimes.
I could have
That's right, you
Yeah, I do. I do sometimes,
I take it back.
I would have restored it for you and sold it back to you cheaper.
Yeah. Well, actually, my wife will verify I watch your show religiously because I constantly go out of my way to buy high and sell low. It's just my car collecting ability. Great mechanic, not such as a businessman.
So we're gonna bypass Mr. Scanlon because we got to get to him in the end. But we're gonna go to Hannah, and so we're in television, we're doing our thing, and then there's these great people that sort of put it all together, that film us and chase us around and make sure that we're saying the things we're supposed to and making everything right. And Hannah's done that with me for going on 12 years now. It's amazing. I don't know how many episodes do we have? 180 something?
Yeah, so we just finished our 180th episode. We're in our 13th season with Velocity. which in and of itself is amazing. And it's a testament to everyone who watches the show, right? And to Wayne. And I always want, how many people here have seen Chasing Classic Cars? Yeah, all right, awesome, thank you.
Wait a minute, what's
Who
that?
hasn't seen
That
it?
one guy in the back.
Yeah,
that raised
right.
his hand.
Yeah.
I'm gonna need your
Raise
number.
your hand if you haven't
Send him a
seen
DVD.
Chasing Classic Cars. Send him a DVD.
So what you guys saw up on stage just now with Wayne spontaneously saying, I got a call. You actually saw how the show is made. Every minute of every day, we are constantly adjusting. It's not scripted. And people say to us all the time, oh, no, you placed that car there. How could that car be there? That's so crazy. It's not. I mean, there is a lot to love about television today, and making a reality show that really is real is super challenging and super rewarding, especially when we get to come out to events like this and see the people who watch the show and the people who invite us into their homes, right, for those car finds. And you'll see us all week running around with a teeny tiny little crew. And the reason we do is, say you have a car hidden in your barn, right? And it's been in your barn for 20 years and nobody knows about it. Are you gonna invite a crew of 25 people to your barn? No way. You're gonna invite me, right? And you're going to invite
And hopefully
Wayne.
me.
Yeah. And Ray, you can always call me. I'm going to give you my cell phone number. If you got a lead, just call me.
Okay,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Anyway, so thank you so much, you guys. The first year, I'll tell one quick story, and then we're going to turn it over to Bob. The very first year we filmed at Pebble Beach, no lie, we had to sneak our way in to every event. No one had heard of Chasing Cars. There weren't collector car shows on TV, at least not the format that we did it in. And it's amazing to see how this event has grown. And I'm just so proud to be part of a show that has shined the light on this hobby, right? Because so many people that we meet say, I came here to Pebble Beach because of Wayne, because of your show, because of shows like it. So first and foremost, thank you to all of you, and to you too, Bob. Thanks for Velocity. Yeah.
Okay, Bob. The question is, how do you put up with all of us? I mean, this is just
I get paid a
little
lot
part
of
it.
money.
You're a good man. Want to buy a Mustang?
Be kind, Bob.
You're balancing so many things. You got a great crew, with the network.
Yeah, we do
we're-
this. We do this with all of 13 people, and it's a spectacularly knowledgeable and passionate team that we've got. And fortunately, we have production companies like the one that Hannah runs, and we have production. We deal with about 35 different production companies around the world. The only thing that we produce ourselves as a team are the live auctions that we do. So currently we're in a deal with Barrett Jackson, but everything else we farm out. And when we see pitches, right, when we see tapes, and we get them all the time, and there's a fairly standard kind of pitch tape we get on build shows that I won't go into my imitation, but suffice to say it all ends like that. But we have a very simple kind of filter, which we call the beer filter. And assuming that the characters are authentic and that they have genuine skill sets, right, that they really do know what they're doing, then we ask the beer question. It's like, okay, would I sit down and actually enjoy having a beer with this guy or girl? And if the answer is yes, that is a huge hurdle. That's a huge hurdle. And as you can tell from this group, everybody in this room would say, yeah, I'd have a beer with those guys. I mean, maybe not me, but
We've had several, actually.
With these guys. In fact, we're all kind of bummed that
A few bottles of wine.
Wayne didn't bring some beer. But so that's how we put it up. We do 430 original hours a year on pretty small budgets, but it all works. We don't get any subscriber fees from cable affiliates, so all the money that the network makes is from advertisers. And so that's really important to us, and the loyalty of people like all of you in this room is very important to us. And the reward really is getting relationships like this and calling these people friends. And then also when people just say, hey, I love Velocity. It's a great network. I watch it all the time, or I watch it sometimes, and that kind of thing. So
Well, it's the
that's
brand that, everybody recognizes. It's the Coca-Cola of automotive television, Everybody recognizes the brand. And I get shouts out all day long, I see on Velocity. It's amazing when I first started doing this, it was, aren't you that guy on that car show? And then it became, hey, aren't you that guy on that chasing something? And over the years it grew, and now everybody just shouts out, hey, Wayne.
Yeah.
It's amazing how so many people, I think we're in 39 or 42 countries, Bob, something like that, chasing shows.
Yeah, because what happens with Discovery International, so in the US, we're on Velocity. Around the world, Discovery has a couple, like 2 billion potential viewers around the world. And so in different regions, there are different network names. So across Europe and the Far East, there are channels called Turbo, but it's really like the Velocity there. And Velocity doesn't translate well, which is why Velocity didn't travel around the world. And in fact, I think in Poland, in Polish, there is no translation for Velocity. So we went with that. In Germany, there's one called D-Max, and then there's Discovery channels that also carry this stuff. So in fact, this is just coincidental, Mike and Ant's show, is the #1 most popular and most widely distributed show around the world for Discovery. It's bigger than Shark Week. Bigger than Shark Week. And Chasing is in the top 4. So I think it's in the car space, Wheeler Dealers, Street Outlaws, Fast and Loud, and Chasing Classic Cars is actually going to move past, I think, Fast and Loud pretty soon. So it's just, the attraction that the vehicle space has around the world, and it's kind of a universal language, and a beautiful vehicle in any culture, any language, is a beautiful vehicle, unlike many other things.
Hannah, take note, if we want to move up the ladder, we got to lose more money per car.
It's a good story.
It is.
Can I just add to, I think also
Make it short.
Yeah, I will make it short. I think what's important, because we're really fortunate, Bob created a network at the same time when the world's gone through a shift change in terms of our trusted banking. So I think you know where I'm going with this. So in 2008, the world went tits, the banks stole all our money. So we realized that, actually it's much more tangible to have something that you can drive and own and love and see it increase in value than rather than put it into a bank that you're in danger of losing it. Velocity Channel came along at exactly that right moment, and these shows have grown at exactly that right moment where the world of the classic car has been increasing in value by 10 to 15% year on year. So it's now you're seeing people that bought cars 10 years ago that are bringing them to RM and Sotheby's, just like Wayne's doing on his show, that are making huge killings out their cars. And we're fortunate to be able to make shows at that pivotal time in motoring history. It's never happened before. And long may it continue. I hope it continues forever. I'm just resetting the balance by losing money on cars. That's all I'm doing.
It's okay. It's okay. So all got to balance out. I make money and then you lose. And
then I lose. Yeah, we
out.
balance out.
Equals out. Bob, can you share anything about what's going on with our network?
Yes. So don't blame the messenger. But we are going to flip the brand from Velocity to Motor Trend. We have just entered, no, not just, but about 9 months ago, we entered into a joint venture with Motor Trend Group, as it's called, which is Motor Trend, Automobile, Hot Rod, Dirt Every Day, a bunch of magazines, and they had a direct-to-consumer business where you could sign on and basically on demand watch some programming. So we did a joint venture with them, and so we are going to change the Velocity name to Motor Trend Network. That's going to be announced, so you guys are in early. That's going to be announced at the SEMA show in the end of October, and then the full brand flip with the new logos that we're working on now will happen at Barrett-Jackson in Scottsdale.
Okay,
but
that's great.
Same shows, same great talent, same great friends, same great producers. It's just it's a name that's got more awareness worldwide. We just have to do some propping up on some of the attributes, but again.
And also, they're going to be able to watch, you'll be able to watch this stuff on demand too more with Motor Trend on demand.
Yeah, so the whole library, it's like the entire library of Chasing Classic Cars.
You can sit for days and just
you
get
could
bored to
binge
death.
on Wayne. Think about it, binging on Wayne.
I think you just gave me my job description, pretty much.
Binging on Wayne.
Chasing Wayne, yeah, binging Wayne.
I think that that's an important fact with young viewers today. They want to watch it when they want to watch it,
Yep.
and they want to just do it that instant. And that on-demand component really works well with younger viewers.
Right, and they want to see, I mean, a lot of them want to see it without commercials. I happen to think that there is a strategy, even in the on-demand space, where you pay for the channel, where you could have selective advertising that's actually additive to the content and beneficial to the viewer, because it could be stuff when Mike is installing or Anders is installing some new cooling system into a specific car. If there was an inserted commercial for 15 seconds that said, right now at Napa, you can get this radio that he's using, and here's a 10% coupon if you click on this. I happen to think that this audience, the automotive superfan, would actually embrace that, as opposed to say, why are you showing me a commercial? Because we do get mail all the time.
It's probably not going to work very well for chasing classic cars, where something will pop up and you can buy this muffler for a 1910 Stutz Bearcat at your local Napa store. It's probably not going to work well. We'll have to work on
And you
that.
can sell it for less.
Right, that's right. That's right. You know, it's been wonderful how everyone's embraced automotive programming so much over the years, and our audience and the viewership has just grown and grown worldwide. I met a guy the other day that's my voice in Germany. And it's amazing. He comes up and he says, "I'm your voice in Germany," you know, and it's amazing. I've had somebody from Japan too call me and said, "I'm your voice in Japan." And to see these dub shows sometimes, because I still talk, it's at a lower level, volume level, but then all of a sudden the person that's dubbing me pitches in. It's kind of weird to watch, I can tell you that.
You're amazing in Turkish, I will say.
Yeah.
Yeah, same as me, I'm amazing in Turkish. It's great. I still lose money.
Okay. But, you know, I think that we've really helped in automotive programming our hobby grow so much, because we've brought our experiences to you as the viewers, and you've embraced them, and then you pass that on to so many people. I know that in Europe and in Japan and Vietnam and Russia, this is something new for these people, especially in Russia and China, where they're seeing this programming and they're all of a sudden becoming interested in cars. So when we think that the automotive world is shrinking, it's really growing even more, because it's becoming a worldwide phenomenon, and people can understand that they can, you know, become part of it, and that's what's important. Having people think that they are and feel that they are just doing the same things that we are. You know, I get somebody come up to me all the time and they'll say, "Oh, geez, you're in our house every night. You know, you're part of the family. You know." It's the strangest thing, and of course I say, "Well, yeah, I can see you guys too." You know, keep that in mind next time you're, you know, watching me from bed or something, running around the house with your underwear on. But you know, I think that that's really important, and what Bob and his team have done at Velocity, and all of us have contributed to. We're very proud of that, and to be able to tell you guys stories. So, and having Hannah, who's our producer, just, you know, the stuff that we film, and all of us, we're all the same. What we film, if you just played that, you guys would turn that set off in a second. You would go, what are they doing? But when they take the pieces and put them all together, and it's sort of like making a stew, you know, they take a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and then they melt it all together, and it becomes delicious. And that's where we are today with that kind of stuff.
Can I brag? Can I brag on Hannah for a
Sure.
second?
I would love that.
You're totally getting this, right? Okay.
Quite possibly the hardest working, multitasking producer I've ever come across. When we were here, probably 4 years ago, we were up at Meekum. At the time, we were televising Meekum, so it's okay.
Okay.
And Wayne and Jim came up, and they're kind of upset. They were like, "Hannah's been in a car accident." And was go, "Oh man, what happened?" She was in a van. She got T-boned, something like hard, T-boned hard. Like she's got to go get checked out. So we're thinking, "Oh man, we got to figure out what we're going to do. We need a sub-camera person, whatever." 5 minutes later, door opens. Here she comes. A little bit of a limp, right? And a little banged up. She was right back on the job. I mean, right back on the job. And it was the most important thing. That to me, I mean, once she was okay, but just that kind of dedication is what makes Velocity great. And as proud as I am, I can't take credit for it. It's like this guy hunting down cars. It's that guy hunting down cars, that guy hunting, and then people like Hannah who document it and know what a good story is and how to tell it in 22 minutes with 4 breaks.
He's trying
New
to
1
say
hour
that
format now.
we make
right?
him look good.
That's absolutely true. That is absolutely true.
So, anybody that's got any questions, we've got about, let me just make sure that
15
money's
minutes.
going in my bank account. Okay, we've got about 15 minutes, and we'd love to have some questions. So, we've got some microphones, please.
I'd like to ask Hannah, because you make this guy look so good. And we see him drive away in some fabulous car, and then he's coming around a corner, and then he goes up to somebody at a barn and comes out and meets them. What's some mechanics behind the scene that make, I mean, where is,
Besides
you're
me?
so invisible.
Yeah, no.
How do you
if
do
you
it?
want to see that magic happen, Wayne, what do we say? In an hour from now, meet us on 17 Mile Drive in Pacific Grove. You'll see it happen. No, we use a ton of different technology, and we try to capitalize on some of the stuff that's available really to everyone, because again, like our crew, which is small, we travel light. Again, you're in a teeny little barn, you can't have a big crew, you can't have big gear. So we use a lot of GoPro. I'm sure you've all seen it or used it before, have a family member who has, for car stuff. I'm making
Basically, this is it. She films the
I
whole
wish.
thing with it.
Yeah. We're going to film it with the iPhone. There's some cool new 360 cameras that are quite small. They're action cameras that we just started messing around with. But we are a single camera show, which is crazy. We were having a laugh the other day. We were at an event, and they were filming it for themselves, and they had a big crew there, and they were awesome and really professional. And I was like, man, we make this show with like just this little group of people. But it works, and as everyone was saying, we all wear a lot of different hats, but in terms of the technology, yeah, we use a lot of action cams. We use one big mega professional HD camera, and then we supplement where we can, and we also, we stay up to date and invested in new things that are coming out, and we're always playing around and messing around and seeing what we can do. We haven't taken Wayne underwater yet. Our cameraman right now, who's with us, is an excellent diver and does underwater camera work. So
I've skied before, but I'm
yeah,
not going
did anyone see
diving.
Wayne go skiing? He went skiing with Johnny Mosley in Tahoe for an episode. That was fun. Yeah.
Any other questions?
What is Ed China doing now?
Anybody else got another question? God almighty, that guy, he's never going to get out of my life, is he? He left 2 years ago. I can't keep talking about him 2 years later, Jesus.
Oh, come on, tell me.
He left the world's biggest car show to go and be in control of his own destiny on YouTube. So you can go and find him on YouTube. And I wish him all the very best, and I hope he succeeds, I really do. But he left under a cloud, and he has now gone on to unfortunately he left under a cloud because he said nasty things about the show when he left. Which is totally unfair because you've seen the success of the show since. Good luck to him. I wish him all the very best. We had a great relationship for 13 years, but you can find him on YouTube.
Next question.
Yeah.
Yes.
First of all, thanks to Wayne and Hannah and Mike for producing a show that is mainly focused on the cars and not on a bunch of bozos out in the shop arguing with each other. And question for Mike, what was the most challenging flip you've ever done on Wheeler Dealers?
Oh, the most challenging flip. There's been quite a few, so there's not just been one. But one
Again, we only. This is only.
Okay, a very short answer. The one that springs to mind almost immediately, and this is in the early days. We did a Bentley Type R, a Turbo R, and at the very same time we was also doing a Fiat 500. A 1960.
Did you get the engines
Fiat
mixed
500?
up or something?
Yeah. I remember when I took the door off, because I do a lot of stuff that you don't see on screen. So when the mechanic does one thing and we film that and steps away, I dive in and carry on so we can move on with filming. So I remember taking the door handle off the Fiat 500 that was one cable and one screw. That's the simple technology. And at the same time, I took the trunk lid off the Bentley, and it took me a day and a half just to get the 1,500 screws and clasps and pins and bolts and little brass things off of the door handle, the boot release handle, trunk release handle of the Bentley. And it was an incredibly difficult car to do because we changed its colour. And there you have to blow the car apart to change its colour, put it back together. And I realised that they over-engineered Bentleys far too much. But there's many more.
Next.
Kind of the same question. Have you gotten down the road in an episode and had to bail out?
Well, we've showed up at locations that the person changed their mind of not wanting to be filmed. You know, so one of the questions that we're all asked, especially me, because he tells you everything. He doesn't care. He'll tell you, you know, if he's got clean socks on today or not. He doesn't care. But what we do is people get upset about not telling how much we pay for a car or we sell it for. And our show's more about the car and the experience of the people. And other than that, it's none of your damn business.
Yeah.
That's basically it.
Yep.
I truly feel that, you know, somebody asked me that question, and I always say, well, how much is in your bank account? Well, you know, what's your mortgage payment? It's none of my business. And so we'll leave the both of it like that. But, you know, I think that sometimes when we go to people's houses, they don't want to be seen on television. They don't want their neighbors to know they have what they have. They certainly don't want to tell people what they've sold it for. And sometimes that gets a little tricky. So, but I still go and buy the car, but we just sometimes don't film it. And that can be very costly with all the airfare and the people that are involved.
I've never given up on a car yet. So I've had some challenges and I've come back with some awful cars, but you have to think about the premise of Wheeler Dealers. Remember, it's the very first car build show that was ever designed, ever made. And with Wheeler Dealers, I always think that the car is the star. It's nothing to do with me, and to answer your question about people fighting, it's nothing to do with me and Ant or me and Ed. The car is the star, so I never want to give up on the car. And I have to find a car that's got problems, otherwise we haven't got a show. I mean, I was constantly told...
That should be easy.
How many people in a day say to me, you jerk, you always give the mechanic too much work. And I think, well, it would be the world's shortest car show. It would be, wouldn't it? I would turn up with a clean car and then you'd have nothing to watch. Yeah, I've never given up on a car yet. And I don't think I ever will. I always know what to buy and what needs doing to it. And like Wayne said, and the guys, you know, Hannah down the end here, it's all real. You know, I really do turn up on somebody's driveway. I really do buy a car. We really do fix it. We really do drive it at the end, and we really do sell it to a genuine person who brings it along to a show like this.
And really do lose money.
And we really do, yeah.
Okay.
We really
yes,
do.
sir.
Yes.
I had more of a production question. We seem to be concerned that the younger generations, God, I can't believe I can say this, are really not that interested in cars and in classics. Have you done any demographic studies to see if hopefully I'm wrong, but that there seems to be some interest, or simply because they're young and they don't have the money yet to do this, they're not as interested to see it? So any idea?
Well, you're right in that the younger demographic is not as shall we say, passionate about cars in big numbers. But what's changed is, you know, when I was in high school, you could pretty much pop the hood and work on an engine, right? You could pull plugs and you could, you know, change points and stuff like that and get it running. Nowadays, it's just a big computer. So where it's going and where we've started to move, we just did a series first season called JDM Legends, so Japanese Domestic Market. And in fact, there's a show here. If you haven't seen it, it's a show over at Pebble that has all of these cars out of Japan, and they've got skylines and things like that. That is an emerging market now. That's kind of for the younger, you know, for a younger demo, that's where kids go like, that's really cool, it's different, it's unique. For a lot of those kinds of cars, they're actually not too expensive to get in, and their idea of making it unique and their own is more bolt-on and graphics and, you know, some performance parts, but not doing an engine teardown or things like that. So There's JDM Legends. We've got another one called 9K Racing that we're doing next year. That's more in the Fast and Furious kind of vein. But again, shops with younger people building these performance cars that are all imports and taking them out for high performance stuff.
So yeah, I have a question about how people, I'm sure you get people approach you to do shows about different types of cars, or we're mini guys, so mini guys always want a little credit. But, you know, how do you determine what kind of shows you decide to put on? You know.
Well, look, we're a victim of our own success. When we did Americana with Ray, that was a foray into not so much, and he's way too modest because Ray is an unbelievable restorer and builder, unbelievable. And his head is all wrapped up in like the history and the find and the personalities. If you go into his collection, he's got all these dirt cars and stuff that were like the things he loved as a kid and the heroes he loved as a kid. So that was a departure for us. But when we get the pitches, is it something that's unique? So we have Mark Warman, right, in Graveyard Cars. He's a Mopar guy. That's all he is a Mopar guy. He's obnoxious. We get all kinds of hate mail. I call him my Howard Cosell. He's my Howard Cosell. But the ratings are through the roof, right? So what the audience appreciates is his passion and expertise. They'll look past him being obnoxious because he is so passionate about it. All the way to the other end with Dave Kindig in Utah and Bitchin' Rides. I mean, if you want Dave Kindig to open the door, it's $100,000. Now, it's not because he's super successful, which he is, but you're going to get quality out of Dave Kindig with like a brand new Morrison chassis all the way up that's truly one of a kind. And the cool thing, again, kind of character, when we first approached, a producer brought us a sizzle from Bitchin' Rides and Dave Kindig. And we said, yeah, we'll try the show, we're going to do it, and gave him the speech about your life's going to change. But he called me back and said, you know what, I'm not going to do it because I'm afraid having producers and camera people in the shop is going to distract me from my work. My customers come first. And I was like, we got to have this guy. I mean, this is perfect, right? That's the kind of commitment and just kind of moral fiber that you want out of characters. So when we get the pitches, we can kind of figure that out. And again, the beer filter is real. If we'd have a beer with those guys or girls, they're in.
Next question.
Couple down here.
Yeah. Go ahead. Jay, hi. How are you?
Hi, Carolyn.
Good to see you. Picking up on the younger audience, I think you've really, at Pixar, really accomplished a lot with the Cars franchise. What are your plans on extending that franchise, keeping the cars alive for young people? I know Cars 3 was very successful. Any plans? What are your plans with the Cars franchise?
Well, thank you for your question first. You know, we have certain films at Pixar that we call evergreen films. An evergreen film is something like Toy Story or Cars, where it lives on day in, day out, every day, that people always love and connect with those films. So we constantly have new kids being introduced to our movies, new adults. In terms of Cars right now, nothing right now. What I'm working on right now is actually kind of exciting. At Walt Disney World, we're putting in Lightning McQueen's Racing Academy. And this is a full-size animatronic McQueen that can talk at you, it can look at you, it's got projected eyes and a projected mouth. And then he can swing around 180 degrees on a simulator and race. And that's going to be opening spring of next year at Walt Disney World. So I'm pretty excited about that. That's a big project that I'm working on right now. And after that, we'll see. You know, there's always something fun and new. What's important to me is that we make sure that we have authenticity. That's a really big word at Pixar, is whatever we delve into, it has to be authentic. And for me with Cars, if I want to make sure that we're exploring real parts of the automotive world and McQueen to meet characters that are based on real characters. Like we had Mario Andretti at the end of the first Cars film. We had, you know, Richard Petty as the king. We had, you know, Dale Jr. as a voice. Ray was a voice for us in Cars 3. That's what I really enjoy, is that connection with the real automotive world. So that's what I hope we can tell more of those kind of stories. Yeah.
I think we can take a couple more, and then we'll probably have to wrap it up. Yes.
So my question is for Mike. Love your show. You and Ant are amazing, and there are times when you guys build parts that don't exist, or you go inside in great detail.
Yep.
Do you have a team of people to help you research the interiors of all these different cars you work on?
Well, yeah, like Hannah, one of the amazingly talented producers on television. We have a production team. I've got a couple of people that work in the office with me. It's usually first and foremost, I don't want to take credit for everything, but first and foremost, I will decide what we're going to be doing and how that job's going to work on the car. And if the part doesn't exist or it's simply not made anymore and we need to go and find a fabrication shop to make it, I will send a team to go and find something that's real, you know, where we can doorstep somebody, turn up. Television's a very funny world. We will turn up at a business where they put they've literally, Mike Brewer's come in, or Wayne Carini is coming, they will repaint the building white, they put a pot of flowers on the shelf, they will put their banners up, everyone will turn up with their polo tops on and baseball caps and be on point. That day it looks like Pixar, it really does. And then we turn up and we say, the producers say, yeah, you have to take that poster off the wall, dirty up the floor, let's move that flower pot, turn your t-shirt inside out and whip your baseball cap off because you're not, you know, we can't put you on TV with all that branding on. But those are real shots, and I send a producer. I usually help find them, and then we send a producer out to go and see if they're real, and if they're real, we're asked their permission if we can just go and film, but please don't change anything. We just want to come and film for real. So it's hard, it's very difficult to do, because there's always one per show. And if I'm making, you know, this many shows as we are at the moment, it's a constant struggle to try and find somebody new.
One more question?
First of all, thank you to all of you for putting on this forum and making this event and television entertaining for all of us. I personally really appreciate it. This question is directed to Jay. A small detail that I've noticed at Disney's California Adventure in Cars Land is that in Flo's V8 Cafe, the stand is, you know, it's a crank. And there's spark plugs on top, and they light up. And I know it's a firing order, but I don't know for what engine.
Flathead V8.
Wow.
So it is.
Incredible.
You're so good, Jay.
Seriously? It is in the correct firing order.
Yeah.
category.
Really? Right? Yes, Jay Ward, everybody.
That's the level of detail that Pixar puts together.
That was one of the things I did actually in the movie. It blinks in that order. And that was something that John Lasseter said, you know, what's the firing order of a Flathead V8? And I told him what it was because I have a 39 Mercury convertible. And that's what we did. I mean, and that's the kind of stuff I geek out on. And for the one of every 300 people that notice it, I appreciate it. So thank you.
Oh my God, I can't wait to go back to Cars Land. I'm going to be, that's brilliant.
Yeah. I got to ask this question of Ray because I don't see him often enough, and this is coming out of the blue. Glory Road. Now, Glory Roads is all like history, sit downs and stuff. Who is the one person that, alive or dead, that you would love to have an interview for that show?
For Glory Road again,
Yep.
And we were very, very fortunate to have done a show with him on Americana. But Dan Gurney was probably one of the most amazing people that I've ever sat with. You know, we did a show, an hour-long show on a Gurney Eagle restoration that we found again while we were filming a show in New York. And this another guy walks up and says, "Hey, I want to," and I was like, "Hey, I'm shooting. I can't stop." And hey, what? I can't. I'm shooting. I'm stopping. He goes, "I got Dan Gurney's Eagle 701." Cut. What did you say? He said, I got Dan Gurney's Eagle 701. I said, "Where is it?" He said, "It's a couple miles from here." I said, "What's it doing on Long Island?" Long story. So I called out to Dan. Well, so we did a show and brought the car to Indianapolis and let Dan's son Justin drive it around. But you know, when you hear that song, you know, one more day, you know, that was I would love to have one more day with Dan Gurney because what he saw through the racing world and the motorsports world through his eyes, you know, not only as an incredible race driver, but an incredible designer and builder, it amazes me. And again, you meet so many people doing this. This is the job that we get to do. We meet incredible people, and not just the famous ones. I have met people that hardly know and that you may never have heard of, to have more knowledge about a specific car or a specific engine than you ever could imagine. Yesterday, Pete Brock, or the other day, Pete Brock, just, a guy like Pete Brock is at Laguna Seca. He's just signing autographs and selling books and things like that. And you think about what an amazing career and what incredible cars have come out of that guy's mind. So I encourage you, if you get a chance to talk with somebody like that, as I said, it would be, to get another hour to sit down with Dan Gurney would be incredible.
Cool.
Anybody else got anything? Dan was certainly, a fantastic guy. We've got so many people that we call our heroes too. Sterling Moss, and I was just with Jackie Stewart having lunch before I got here. I mean, just the opportunities that we have to be able to meet our heroes and people that we look up to. And I know Dan was just such a special guy to you, but to all of us, and he was fantastic. I really want to thank everyone for coming today and sharing our experiences and finding out a little bit of how this television stuff works. I got to thank everybody on the panel. Hannah wasn't prepared for this at all. I asked her to actually come and drive me to the Mecum sale so I could sell my car, but she added a great deal to the panel, so thank you, Hannah, for coming.
Thank you, Wayne. Thanks, everyone. Thank you.
And we'll see if we can do this again next year. We'll come up with a new topic, but we all did this at Amelia Island a couple of years ago, and when Katie asked me to come and do it again, I figured it was a good time for an encore, so thank you all for coming and enjoying it.